And I'd like to call to order the Redevelopment Commission meeting for the City of Bloomington for December 1st, 2025. We'll start the meeting with a roll call, please.
Steve Scambolari here.
Randy Cassidy here.
John West here.
Lori, you're next.
I don't think she can hear. We have a red light on our owl.
Oh, you have an angry light.
It also has a
An
blue
angry
light
owl.
too.
It looks angry.
Can Lori hear you? You don't hear anything either?
I don't. It could be on my end, but
Are you muted?
Yeah, you can tell by the look on her face she doesn't.
Oh wait, is that one muted? Hold on. Oh, it's not.
No, we're not.
Okay. Hold on.
Can't have them both. Yeah, it is muted.
There we go.
now we're good.
Lori, can you hear us?
Yes, I
Okay.
can hear you, but I can't see you. I
Oh.
can't see you.
We'll get it going here.
We got it.
Thank you.
Okay, we are partway through our roll call, and you are next, Lori.
Lauren McRowdy, present.
And Deborah Meyerson present. And then we have staff present, please.
Anna Quillian Hanson, present.
Christina Finley, hand department.
Cami Cathwell, present.
Jane Coopersmith, Economic and Sustainable Development.
Anna Dragovich, Economic and Sustainable Development.
Matt Swinney, hand department.
And Dana Kerr, legal department.
Okay. On our agenda this evening, we have our minutes from November 17th, 2025. Any comments from commissioners? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Well, first and a second, we'll do a roll call for approvals because we have a member online.
Steve Scambolari, aye.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
John West, yes.
Lauren McRowdy, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes. Minutes passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda is examination of claim register for November 21st, 2025. Any comments or questions from commissioners on this item?
John?
I emailed my question and got it answered, so I'm good, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, just about three. Van Asdar and Farrar, number 1, page 2.
That's for our scanning.
Digitation of all the previous records. Do we know how many more we have to go?
Oh,
Okay, so that'll be a reoccurring cost sometime in the future.
yes.
Okay, we just don't know.
We have been in the process of digitizing our rental files for quite some time. We have a lot of them, currently, what do we have? More than 30,000. And so this goes back to all of history. And so we've been in the process of digitizing that. We're really rounding out the majority of the files that we have here, but there are likely some other files that are in offsite storage that need to be now digitized, so.
So sometime in that, it'll be an ongoing thing.
Well, we really hope that this will be falling off of our budget soon enough, but at this present time, I'm sorry to say, there are still files to digitize.
A lot to be done. Okay. And then the Flock Group needs safety for $81,000.
Yeah, it's security trailers that we had for neighborhood safety. I think those are 2 different security trailers.
Okay. Those, the cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So that way we're able to.
BPD has found them extremely helpful as they're placed throughout town. They're mobile. If they're having issues in one area or another, they have found them to be extremely helpful.
Rental agreement or
It's a lease.
It's a lease, long term or
I think it's 2 years.
2-year agreement. So and this is for 1 year at a time.
I think so. I'd have to pull it out. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, and then I think the last question I have is a Duke question on the Showers West.
Yes.
Is that 1 month's worth of electric bill?
Which one are you
It would
looking
be $223 under hand 2519, and it's for $7,614.
It most certainly is.
1 month.
1 month.
So.
I think you've heard me repeat on multiple occasions that at times during peak usage, it can be $6,000–7,000. So we have had those. Yes.
And so as we go through on a budgetary basis on Showers West and what we're going to do with it, identifying that continual cost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll come back to
It's
that
a
one.
poorly insulated building with
Yeah.
vaulted ceilings and, yes,
Historic building,
yes, that's correct.
okay.
With
So
it
that'll
comes
just-
some costs.
That'll be something that we'll be looking at. Okay.
Mhm.
That answers the question, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other questions or comments from commissioners, I'll entertain a motion, please, on the claim register from November 21st.
Move approval of claims registers for November 21st, 2025. Second.
We've got a first and a second. We'll do a vote by roll call, please.
C. Scambolery, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
John West, yes.
Lori McRobbie, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda, examination of payroll register from November 14th, 2025. Any comments or questions from commissioners on this item?
I'll move for approval as presented.
Second.
We've got a first and a second. We'll do a vote by roll call, please.
C. Scambolery, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
John West, yes.
Lori McRobbie, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next on our agenda is reports from officers and committees. Do we have a director's report, please?
We don't have a formal director's report this evening, but I do want to update you guys on the process at Hopewell South. So it's been a moving target, and up to the last day for filing for the Development Review Committee, the site plan and ordinance was in limbo and changing, but it did hit the deadline. It did get filed a week ago from Friday. It will be going to the Development Review Commission tomorrow for feedback. It is not a public meeting, but there are a number of partners that review everything in that PUD filing for feedback. The goal is to try and get to the January 12th Plan Commission meeting, but that's subject to a lot. And you guys have not seen a formal site plan or ordinance or anything. So once we get the feedback from the DRC, you're likely going to have at the next meeting everything in front of you to take a look at and to approve whether we are or are not going to the January 12th Plan Commission meeting.
Is that a realistic date that we're gonna hit?
I think so. I mean, but it depends.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving pieces and parts to the project.
Okay. So, worst case scenario, will we have a window of opportunity to look at it prior to the meeting?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah.
So that would probably be at our December 15th meeting.
December 15th meeting, yes. And then so the feedback that we receive and the final ordinance and site plan that we have so far, of course, may be changing. Everything in those site plans can change up to the time it gets to council pretty much. But yes, you will have a version of it hopefully within the next week to take a look at, give us your feedback, and then decide whether you're ready to move it forward to the next step or not.
Thank you. Do we have a legal report?
I just wanted to take a moment to kind of make sure that people understand the Redevelopment Commission and what the statutory roles and duties are. I'd like to start by stating that the Redevelopment Commission was established for the purpose of trying to take politics out of the economic development and to try to put it in the hands of people that the elected officials felt would serve their community well, was looking out for the economic development of the community, looking out for the best interests of the city of Bloomington. And the statute has bestowed a lot of flexibility that the RDC has, and other legislative bodies or executive bodies do not have some of the, or a lot of the powers that you guys have in economic development areas. And so you control your economic development funds that you receive, the TIF funds that you receive, and try to apply those to the what you all believe is the best use of that. And others do play a role. The executive branch plays a role by the fact that the executor, the director of the RDC is Anna Coogan-Hanson from the director of the hand department is the director for here. So the executive branch is involved in that way. The legislative branch is involved in some fiscal areas. The spending plan, which you'll see today, is required for the RDC to show the legislative body what you're doing and what your plans are for the future. If you're going to do any bonding, it has to be approved by the legislative body. If you are going to enter into certain leases, it has to be approved by the legislative body. If you're going to amend the redevelopment plan, that has to be done through the legislative body. If you are going to change the or increase TIF areas or TIF additional areas, then that needs to go to the legislative body. If you're going to annex properties outside of the city limits and go into the county where a TIF exists, there are a number of things that needs to be done through the legislative body for that. So, the legislative body appoints 2 of you commissioners, and the mayor's office appoints 3. And they do that on what they believe you think is the right thing to do for the community and for the economic development of the city. So there's different entities involved in what the RDC does, but the RDC needs to know that they are autonomous. They're a separate body from the others, from the executive branch, from the legislative body. You're a separate body with separate powers bestowed upon you. And the reason the legislature made it this way was to try to keep politics out of things, to try to keep it so that it was purely about economic development, purely about making the city of Bloomington better. And so whoever appointed you feels like you have the knowledge and the skill and the ability to do that. And so you need, your role is to exercise your judgment on what needs to be done here. So just wanted to kind of explain that. I've had questions in the last few days about different people's roles, and I just felt that I could summarize that. And after the first of the year, there will, all your appointments are for 1 year. So whoever's appointed next year, whether you're all reappointed or others join, we will have a very detailed training session to really help make that clear. I've talked about that since I got here, but things have been so busy here at being new to get everything in line. But I do make that a high priority for January to make sure that everybody understands their role. So beyond that, I'm available for questions.
3 questions.
Yes, sir.
One, based upon what you're saying in regards to, we have the ability to annex or eminent domain? I haven't read that in the book, so I was
you don't have the power to annex, and you don't have the RDC does not have the power to annex.
Right, but we have the power to initiate an annexation or eminent domain?
No, if there's going to be an annexation and it's going to include the TIF area, then the RDC would be involved. If you were trying to annex something that was in a county TIF, then they may have obligations on that. And so the RDC would need to work with the legislative body to make sure that whatever part of those bonds would be attributable to the annexed area, that money gets captured to pay those bonds. So you don't annex, but if there is an annex in a TIF area, there's work that the RDC has to do to ensure that you don't upset the obligations that the county TIF has. As far as eminent domain goes, the RDC does not have the power of eminent domain. It specifically states that in statute.
Right.
However, if eminent domain or so eminent domain is less up to the legislature, the legislative body. But if you acquire property in a means other than eminent domain, and you purchase it from a willing buyer, there are provisions in the statute related to inverse condemnation. So that means if you get a property such as Showers West, and it has leasehold interest, you obtain the property from a willing seller, and so therefore you didn't have to use eminent domain. But if their leases would state, and they do, I'm trying to not get too much into that part, but anyway, yeah, if their leases state that if the property is taken for, or if their interest in property, not the owner, but outside other interests, like leasehold interest, that those interests can be terminated by the RDC, and their lease allows that, and therefore you can have the power in that case to use inverse condemnation to take their leasehold interest. And when you deal with sophisticated landlords, like what we've had in with CFC, they know that if property is going to be taken by eminent domain or otherwise for a public purpose, that there has to be just compensation for that. And so what they did in their leases is made sure that that portion of whatever compensation that they would get would be theirs. You know, they want the large share. So they can limit what others would get, what the tenant would get in those cases. Yeah. So you have the power of condemnation. You do not have the power of eminent domain. Eminent domain is taking the property from the property owner in an adversarial way. Luckily, you didn't have to do that for Showers West.
Well, I wasn't even concerned about Showers West.
Yeah.
I was just reading through the redevelopment books that have been provided by the financial advisors.
Right.
And with that, when you brought that up, I wanted to clarify in regards to it. And then the last question in regards to it, when we're talking about scheduling something so we can all get together to do that, what kind of time frame would we be able to do that? Because everything comes at such a quick pace. If we were going to do that, is that something we would, whether it be us or any other individuals that are appointed, would that be something we'd want to try to schedule for February, March? So we went ahead and had it because, as you put, Dana, with everybody being so busy and so many things coming up, if we plan it far enough ahead, then we can actually utilize it because, you know.
Right. The question is, do we plan it now and hoping that everybody gets reappointed and we have the right time frame, or I would suggest that we set that date and time at the first meeting.
You talking about scheduling the training?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure.
No, I
if you were-
apologize for miscommunication, but no.
I'll
Go ahead and try to schedule a training irregardless of when it is, because as you put it, while we may know our roles, and I've been fortunate enough to have been given the redevelopment statute by a couple of financial people, and it's about 250 pages, and you gotta have some coffee. But I'm just trying to identify, thinking ahead.
We can include it on the calendar approval.
Yeah.
which is one of the first resolutions of the year for our organizational meeting.
Right, because, you know, based on how things go, all appointments may not be done by the first meeting, but I'd like to try to get.
We can at least try and
Get something
some
scheduled,
calendars.
so we
Yeah.
don't, you know, everybody gets busy, and there's a lot going on, so.
And I would encourage the legislative body and the mayor to make their appointments sooner than later, so that those individuals can be.
Included in the schedule.
I do believe that they're able to serve up to 90 days after that deadline, right?
It's
Or
just that
until
it's 90
reappointment.
days and then you're scheduling when all appointed folks for 2026 are in there. You might not be actually getting on till March, or till April or March, so anyway.
That's
Just trying to, I understand trying to get ahead of the calendar, but anyway, we can do that the first meeting of the new year.
Yeah.
To ensure the training can be as early as possible, it would be good for the appointments to be.
Yes, absolutely.
As early as possible.
There's a lot there.
do that. That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions for our legal report? Thank you very much, Mr. Kerr. Next item is the treasurer's report.
Our treasurer's report today.
Okay, thank you. And any business development update?
Not today, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are on to our new business. Our first item of business is Resolution 25-136, which is supporting the Convention Center Host Hotel on the College Square property. Who would like to speak to that?
I'm happy to do it. I think it would be really helpful. We've received a lot of comments on this particular resolution, including at least 3 emails from council, city council staff. What I'm concerned with is making sure that we loop everybody in where we've been, and I don't know if you're interested in it. I'm happy to do it.
I'm happy to give what I think is an overview, and my colleagues can help jump in if that's necessary. So as I'm reading through the packet, it occurs to me that this is the kind of legislation that would do very well to be preceded by a memo kind of giving you all a timeline for events. As any of you who've tuned into a CIB meeting know, the Redevelopment Commission was approached, staff was approached last fall after the CIB has gone through the selection process of a hotelier to create a host hotel for the Bloomington Convention Center. That hotelier had a choice of sites on which to locate the hotel. Each site had different advantages, different challenges. The site of what we call the Bunger and Robertson property, which I believe is 100 South 216 South College, was selected for a number of reasons. The siting along the trail is great. The proximity to the new convention center and the existing convention center, supported the use. The property is flat, and I think just its availability for this potential use was considered. And so initially when this began to be discussed, staff really evaluated the use of the property for this. And it took us a while to come to the redevelopment commissioners with any kind of proposed information. Details were kind of abstract in the beginning. It was clear that there was a very significant financial gap to close for this developer. We looked at a number of different structures. We talked about, can I get into these details?
I
wouldn't get into
Okay.
too much.
don't give dollar amounts at least.
Oh, no, but we looked at a number of structures to try to...
And define we.
Yeah.
Okay. I think my we is general over the entire past year, but I think details were really navigated when commissioners got involved. So commissioners became involved, I think, in earlier 2025, and they, along with staff, looked at different potential structures to try to make the project work, including a shared equity model, and shared revenue. Is it land donation? Is it long-term land lease? The project was really kind of held up and looked at from a number of perspectives, and every time the deal fell short. The city staff and commissioners consulted with experts in this area from Indianapolis and other markets to try to understand what would be the best way to get this to yes. And I don't want to speak for the commissioners. Staff feels strongly that this is a great use of this site, and so continues to push on this project. As many of you are aware, last month at the Capital Improvement Board meeting, when was the date where you asked for a December deadline? It was
October meeting.
At the October meeting, it was asked that the Redevelopment Commission work to advance a deal and communicate by December 16th with the CIB if a deal was not able to be reached. At the meeting, November CIB meeting, Director Killian Hansen and Commissioner John West offered remarks indicating that the Redevelopment Commission was very interested in moving forward, but that a significant gap for the project remained, kind of regardless of how the project was being examined. The legislation that's here before you, commissioners, today advances, formalizes the commitments that staff believes and is asking the Redevelopment Commission via this legislation to commit to. These are the supports that staff believes are necessary in order to get a project to move forward. This is less than what the hotelier has requested, but it is the maximum of what, given the other projects and priorities of the Redevelopment Commission, this is the maximum of what staff feels we can responsibly request. And correct everything that I've missed, please.
Just to add, any meetings with the commissioners did not have a quorum. There were only 2 commissioners at most present, so there was no quorum for those meetings, just to make that clear. And also, because this involves a transaction, there have been executive sessions, and so but those are confidential by statute. So just wanted to make clear that there were never any non-quorum meetings of the RDC. So do you have more?
And the RDC did, in a public meeting, ask that John West and Randy Cassidy be the representatives at those meetings, if at all possible, due to scheduling issues, and just making sure that we have somebody in the room that's hearing the same information. So those have been the commission members that have been present.
And since the packet has gone out, I have had some communications come to me of suggestions. So you have in your packet one version of that that we were putting forth. I don't know if you can share screen to share the other version, and then the commissioners could decide which version they prefer to work with. And I can point out the differences. I tried to share it with you just a few minutes ago.
I will try and get that up here now, but if you guys want to continue conversation about this while I am pulling this up.
I might just back the frame up one more level, if I can, in my overview, to say that the staff and ultimately redevelopment commissioners are not entertaining this project simply because a hotelier asked us to use this property for a hotel. It's because the convention center is a pillar of our community's economic development. It will drive our economic development, much of it going forward, and a proper host hotel is critical to the success of that convention center. It was understood from the beginning that the convention center or the host hotel would be needed, and that it would have to happen separately from the development of the convention center proper. But this is very much aligned with everything that we're doing in our downtown core, from Switchyard Park through Trades District up to the area surrounding Miller Showers Park.
So, and without incentives, it's felt and it's factual that you would not be able to receive a hotel at the quality that you're wanting to serve as a host hotel. If you went strictly by private market, the market would not be there to put in that kind of a hotel. With incentives, you can get developers to go above and beyond what would traditionally be available, so that you could have something that really supported your convention center.
Do you need me to zoom in at all?
Yeah, you can zoom in a little bit. The first thing that I was asked to add was, we talked about how in the first one that whereas that the resolutions 1934 and 2325 authorized the purchase of the property, and for the amounts that I was asked to put in there, the first property was the west side and the southeast corner, basically, and that was $4,995,000. The second resolution 4 years later was for the northeast corner, where there was parking from the parking lots up there, and that was for $1,900,000. So that's the two whereas clause I added. If we could go to the last whereas clause. In this one, the original said that in addition to the incentives already mentioned above, the RDC had determined that the real estate at College Square necessary for the host hotel would be made available in some form to the host hotel project at no or nominal cost to the project. This version changes the word would to may. And if you can go to number 3, that impacts number 3. So we're now 3 reads that the Bloomington Redevelopment Commission hereby provides notice of its further commitment to the host hotel project by making known that the real estate at College Square necessary for the host hotel, so only that part of it necessary for the host hotel, may be made available in some form to the host hotel project at no or nominal cost of the project if it furthers the best interest of economic development in the city of Bloomington. That way the RDC is retaining the ability to look at what the project is exactly to determine if they believe it is a project that's beneficial to the economic development of the city of Bloomington, the interests of the city of Bloomington. So this basically changed it from saying a hard yes, it's available, to a hard, we really will make a commitment, but it has to be for the best interest of economic development and for the interest of the city of Bloomington. So those are things that were discussed, or sent to me from after the board packet or commission packet went out, and so you can decide to take a hybrid approach, and you know, and I can make edits, or if there's one of these that the commissioners prefer over the others, then the discussion could start on that particular version.
Okay, thank you for those presentations from staff. I appreciate all of your contributions. I'm going to open it up now up to questions and comments from commissioners, please.
Well, dealing just with the 2 different resolutions, it would probably be appropriate at least for us to land on one of the 2, correct?
Correct.
So our discussion now is just about which resolution to bring forward, not necessarily to vote on accepting the resolution, but which format, which version.
The version for discussion. So I believe that a vote on that, and that would not mean you're for it or against it. It would just mean that you're willing to move forward with a discussion on that particular one. So it could either be, again, what's in the board package, what was shared on the screen, and then so that way we can build from that one if you want to make changes further changes.
When did you send that one out, the second version out?
I just showed it on the screen because I just finished it while we were voting on the minutes.
Okay.
So I didn't get this information until today, or the most of it until today, and so therefore I'm just trying to get it out to you before.
Is it possible to get the second version printed out? Because it would be helpful to see it up on screen, and yet I don't want to take away from seeing the public that is with us today, so.
I'll get that done now.
Thank you.
And if you would like to table this to later in the meeting, be able to get your printed copies.
Not necessarily, I mean, how long will it take to print?
Just a second.
Okay.
Are there any other comments or questions while we're waiting on a printed copy to be able to consult as part of the discussion?
Could I ask that the copy that Dana just showed be sent to me by email?
Just sent. It's shared to you on Google Drive.
Or maybe for the sake of, again, public comment, it could be put in the chat box.
Yep.
And I realize that's maybe not as easy for folks that are in person, but we'll figure it out.
Do you want general questions now?
Yeah, I think now would be a good time to use this time for general questions, and then we can get more specific as needed for the...
Once we have a version.
Yeah.
So. Define nominal, please.
It just means a lot of times it's like for $1 or for $10. So, for instance, my recommendation, if the property was made available, that one, as both versions say, it would be what would be needed for the hotel, because it may be that entire site is not needed. It may be that it is, but if it's not, you want to keep what's not. You don't want to give away extra. And also, I would be recommending that you do a long-term land lease for the property. That will give you some extra control on the use of the property, as opposed to simply turning over ownership. And so it could be a long-term lease for $1 or $1 a year or whatever you want. But nominal just means a tiny amount so that compensation is received.
And then who makes the decision on whether something is nominal or not? We do,
You
correct?
Yes. Yes.
Is the land lease something that could be memorialized in this, or, I mean, I'm just interested in your recommendation versus what we've got in the resolution?
This says made available in some form, and that's why I put it that way, because I didn't want to get too much in the weeds. The purpose of this resolution is to show the RDC support for the host hotel, and it puts it out there that you are doing what you can to help with the project, but by using the word maybe instead of would be, you're saying that you definitely want to be reviewing. I think you have the right anyway, but still, it's making it clear that you want to review any project to make sure that you believe it's in the best interest of the economic development and the interest of the city to move forward with that.
So, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm gonna wait to go last.
Okay, so, thank you. They're collated already? Okay, that's great. What does the may language exactly obligate us to do?
Doesn't obligate you to do anything, honestly. It obligates you to consider it. I would say that you would need to, in good faith, consider the offering of the property, but it does not require you to. It's the difference between may and shall in the law. May is more just showing that your commitment to the project, and if the right project came along, that is something that you would do if it was the right project. but it does not obligate you to do anything.
So
You
let
may
me-
not believe the right project ever comes along.
Let me put a finer point on my question. Does it obligate us to demonstrate anything? Project comes along, I don't personally think it's a good use of our economic development opportunities. We agree on that, we vote no. Do we have to demonstrate why it's not? Why we don't
No,
believe
I
it's in the
think-
best economic development interest of the city?
I think in any resolution that you made, it would state in the whereas clauses that, and it just has to mean that you gave it consideration.
That's all, thank
Yeah.
you.
Next. Run me through, oh.
No, I'm gonna go last. I just was
Sure.
waiting for that pause.
Okay. Run me through what the solution is if we pass or if we fail. Because my understanding of reading our memorandum with the convention center and all the rest of it, that the amount that's been obligated by the city is the food and beverage amount. And that the CIB has the selection of the host hotel. Now, when it comes down to the property and the dollars, run me through the solution, the scenarios. If it passes, what that would be, or if it fails, what would that be? Because
I will say that the gap is very large right now.
Oh, well, yeah.
And so-
Take the gap out of it.
Yeah.
We know that, based upon the circumstances, that there's a substantial amount of subsidy that would be needed
So
by anybody to make this.
If a particular transaction cannot be completed, that it does not meet the interest, or it just can't be because it doesn't supply what money's asked for, then that would be the end of the RDC's discussion with the proposed developer, and it would go back to the CIB to relook at how they did the RFP, see if they could maybe hone in on a few things, try to see what they can do to control the costs of the project, and start again with a new RFP would be my recommendation. But it's up to the CIB to do what they please. Basically, if a deal fails with the RDC, it falls back to the CIB to do what they believe is in the best interest. So
I just want to get
you're
one
out of it at
clarification on that.
I'm sorry.
If this passes, we continue with the selected hotel developer discussion.
Yes, you mean this resolution? Okay, what this resolution does, if it passes, just shows, not with this particularly just this developer, but with any developer. So you could pass this resolution and the current deal that's trying to be worked out fail, and it just shows the CIB that, hey, we're committed to doing this if the right project comes along. And so you can pass this resolution and the current deal can fail, which again is likely at this point. But if this resolution fails, it sends a signal to the CIB that you're not necessarily committed to having the land as part of the consideration, part of an incentive for the hotel project. Because of the gap in the quality of what is wanted by the CIB and the community for the host hotel, I would say, is you're not going to get that quality unless there is some incentives available, because the developer can't make up that kind of expenditure in an amount of time that they'd be running in the red for a long period of time. And you're not going to find a hotelier that wants to run in the red. They're concerned if they're running in the red the first year. So if you don't do something to bridge that gap, you will not get the quality of hotel that is envisioned for that property. And so that's the importance.
Let me also chime in and say that even with a reduced scope, the CIB has discussed potentially reducing the scope of the hotel to help make up that difference. There is still a substantial gap that we can't fill. We have looked to other partners to see if anything else is on the table. We have explored every option possible, and we're hitting dead ends. So,
would you be able to maybe just briefly illustrate, if possible, and this might be for Director Cooper-Smith as well, in terms of there are other hotels that are in progress in the community, and just from a general public point of view, what's the differences between, let's say, Posh Hotel or the Trades District Hotel, and what's needed for the Convention Center Hotel, that in terms of what the market can support and where subsidies needed, it just might help illustrate the difference. And I'm trying not to get into really, granular numbers, but just the real estate picture of why this gap exists and why subsidy is needed.
well, construction right now is expensive, period, and it's only going up. So that's just the market the way that it is. But I think one of the bigger differences between both of those hotels has to do with no parking garage.
So the Trades District Hotel is going in without subsidy, but there'll be leasing spaces from the Trades District Garage where there's availability, and so that's saving $20 million of investment. So it's not a direct subsidy, but it's effectively supporting the project. You asked about kind of comparing, contrasting with other hotels. Posh Hotel is super high end. The market for the Convention Center Host Hotel will be lower than that, but it will be a nice hotel. And the key for the Convention Center Hotel is that it have 200 beds. And what we're finding is that the way the developer would typically address the funding shortfall is through condoizing part of the property. So having longer term stay units and units that were not always available to convention center business, and that was unacceptable, and it is unacceptable from a business perspective for the host hotel. The other variable, I'm going to lose track of it.
Speak to amenities.
Yeah, so, well, the initial list of amenities, or
comparing, say, Posh to the proposed hotel for the convention center,
well,
full service,
this is
number of rooms.
Yeah. I can't speak to the number of rooms at Posh, I'm sorry. And this would be a full-service hotel, so it would have a full-service restaurant. But some of the pieces that we're trying to move around in order to drive costs down are looking at, for example, the initial version included its own meeting room space. That's already off the table, and it's been determined that that's not necessary. That's a high cost per square foot, and so that's reduced. I'm sorry, there was one other subsidy factor that I wanted to mention, and I've just about the business model, and I completely lost track of it. It's the condoized room rates. Sorry, the other major difference for the host hotel versus other hotels in Bloomington is that they're not allowed to price gouge on event weekends. So with the host hotel, they're booking multiple years out into the future, and they have to guarantee low rates for convention and visitor business. Whereas our other properties in the city, I said price gouging, which is of course not appropriate, but they're able to charge higher rates during those peak demand times to offset other slower periods. And this hotel will just not have access to that. The way that the hotels in this market do that is by not releasing room blocks until after the sports IU athletics calendars have been released. So again, just that timing difference. The host hotel has to book out 2 to 3 years in advance. The rest of our hotels in Bloomington are holding onto those rooms until the 12 months or less, until the calendars are released. I think those were some of the big functional ones. And then to try to get at your point, which is what's the difference in amenities between the others and this one?
Well, you mentioned some of them.
Yeah.
Full service restaurant, full service bar.
Yeah.
Conference space. And I wish I could quote the Posh, the number of beds in Posh, but it's significantly different than.
I can look it up.
It's not 200, I don't believe.
So it's just a
It may be
different,
under
it's a
100.
different animal.
Pardon me?
It may be under 100.
Yeah,
It is under.
so they're just not generating, there's just not enough rooms to generate. 100 would not get done with the
45
host
rooms.
hotel. 45?
Yeah.
All right. So that alone is a huge gap.
Lori's hand has been up for a second.
Okay, I just have to get, I'm really sorry, I have to get off in about 5 minutes. My question really has to do with if we pass the, let's call it the May resolution, the second one that we may offer, have we foreclosed any other possible option for how the land is handled? That is to say, long-term lease, some kind of arrangement where there's, we forego interest payments on, I'm not real estate savvy enough to know, but certainly, really my question is, are we locking ourselves into, we can only do this if we do it for free or nominal cost, which is potentially open to interpretation?
I can answer that if that's okay. So this, the structure is not proposed in this legislation, but this legislation just acknowledges that it's not, it's something that would be considered not a market value. So I think that a long-term lease or any other kind of structure could still be on the table for the project. That was your second question. Your first question was, had we pursued all other types of structures?
Well, I actually heard earlier that a lot of things have been investigated, and I've been part of conversations about other, I'm really asking whether we have any option to reconsider any previously discussed options for how, frankly, how the city retains ownership or of the property.
No,
as giving it away.
Okay, I think I understand your question, and this doesn't preclude you from making any type of deal regarding the property. For instance, it may be that the proposed project is one that did not have a significant gap, and there was no need to provide that much of an incentive. Could you provide it for half price? Sure, you could do that. It could, so you're still open to all other options that the deal might be structured, and that's why it says that this that basically it has to be the right project, and if it's the right project, then you can determine what that kind of incentive might look for. This right now is considered the maximum that the RDC could do. So by making that statement, that allows CIB to go back and figure out, because this, if the deal falls through, you can go back and figure out another strategy for getting the host hotel. And if they know that that could be available and they let that be known, they might attract, I don't work on the CIB. My recommendation to them would be a different RFP with different parameters. And if they can let it be known that if the right project comes along, this could be a possibility, then that might entice, a higher quality hotel to come in for whatever it is that the CIB believes would be what they would want to see in the host hotel. So the answer is no, you are not limited in anything that you move forward in the future. If this were to drag on and 18 months from now, another use of the property comes available, you can do that. But I think by giving the CIB some comfort that this would be able to be included as an incentive would really help in bringing in a better development than if they had to reach out with no incentives. The CIB doesn't have the ability, doesn't have funding themselves at this point in time, so they can't put anything into it. They have to rely on other entities, and we did pursue other avenues and for other ways within the city and area in county to try to get further funding, and we just weren't able to succeed in getting it. So this again is merely saying that, you know, you really think the host hotel is important to the city. You believe in it, you believe in the convention center, and you know, this is something that you might be able to offer if the right project came along. But it doesn't mean you have to offer it as is. It may be again that the incentive is $3 million, and so you would offer it for a $3 million discount or something like that. So it doesn't stop you from doing any type of negotiation.
Okay, thank you, and thank you all. I'm afraid I have to sign off.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
We still have a quorum, so we're good.
Okay. Back to kind of where I was trying, sometimes I'm thick-headed and it takes a minute to get through to me. So when I'm looking at this, based upon the gap we have, this is authorizing an incentive, but it's still going to go back to the CIB. They've got a December 17th timeframe that they put. We've got a significant gap we're unable to meet at this present moment. And whether it passes or fails, it's still going to go back to the CIB for
It's
either.
still going to go back to the CIB. This would just say what
No.
if you're committed to it in this manner or not.
Well, purchase the property, so that's a pretty significant commitment that we've made. Now we're talking about how we either get repaid back, since this was purchased with TIF funds, and Convention Center has been F&B in the Convention Center portion. So as we've talked about Posh, we've talked about Trade Center Hotel. We did make a concession on the Trades District Hotel where we discounted the land and we allowed for a payment structure that didn't start until till after they were open. So when we look at how we're looking to do this, because of the way the dollar's in at the 6.895 million that we've got in it, it's a matter of how, whether it be a year, 2 years or such, we actually would be able to get those dollars back into the TIF funds, whether it be long-term land lease. But, you know, and as I look at this, it seems as though we need to be able to give very clear direction to the CIB from a financial standpoint of what we're able to do, and then be able to make sure that the TIF can get repaid in whatever manner, whether it be land lease, whether it be delayed payments, whether it be in the overall tax revenues. So that's my concern. It's going back to the CIB is what I'm gathering here, irregardless of which way this goes.
Right. It's just what kind of comfort level the CIB is going to have that would be in. And this type of incentive wouldn't be one that was paid back. This would be one where you're providing the land for the project for economic development purposes, for what the value of the increase in the economy that you would receive and Bloomington would have. So you're basically, by putting in the money, you're buying economic success, I guess, in a way. By, this success won't happen to the extent that it could without this incentive. And so the purpose is to provide this incentive so that you can draw in the right project. And again, you get to decide if that's the right project or not.
Well, but my main concern is I'm hearing between what we know from a gap standpoint, the selection of the hotelier that's there, the discussion CIB has had in regards to reduction, which you don't want to reduce if you don't have to.
Right.
Yeah.
still not enough.
Still not enough.
Still not enough.
Irregardless of where
It's
we're
not
at.
enough. And, you know, my understanding of the resolution was also to signal, this is all we have.
Yeah.
There's nothing left on the table. Quit asking. Because this is all we have to give to the project. We can't meet the gap. We can't get the deal done.
So we go back to the CIB here regardless. And, you know, and as I look at this, you know, we put in 6.895 million into that. And whether it be something similar we've done previously where we gave a discount or that we need to have, or, you know, allowed for the payment to come back in a 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, whatever that time frame is, that we have a definitive plan that can be put out and the CIB can do that from an RFP standpoint. So we know, they know specifically what it is, because.
That is up to the CIB. I mean, the only reason that we're involved at this point is because they selected our site, right? So we have absolutely done everything that we could to try and figure out how to get the deal done. And ultimately, the wall is the wall, and we are at the wall.
It's the financial portion. So, okay.
I have 2 questions. One is it possible, even though I realize we don't have an actual specific proposal right now, but in terms of the figures, 'cause we're talking about the gap and how what the RDC has in front of it in terms of this resolution is not going to fill the whole gap. Is there any way that we could put some relative number on there to illustrate for people, public who are listening, what the relative gap might be, just because I think that's not fully appreciated without hearing something, even though I realize, again, we're not talking about a specific proposal right now, but I think it's important to understand what the RDC has in front of it in terms of our commitment of where that helps and where, you know, where there's still, and just trying to, again, illustrate that for folks.
In the real estate world, and maybe John, you want to speak to this as well, is that sometimes those terms can come back to bite you. If you disclose them, it may hurt the CIB in future negotiations to know what has already been out there. So that's why you have executive sessions to talk about real estate transactions. Some of this stuff is confidential. I would be very leery about disclosing what that gap is, but please understand that it is significant.
Okay, no, that's helpful. Even just to put it in relative terms, again, I understand the hesitation of putting a specific figure on it, and I'm not asking for that, but just to give the sense of that what's in here is not all that needs to be addressed at this point.
I have some non-local examples that might help just for scope. Hotel Carmichael in Carmel, Indiana. I'm sorry, I can't remember when it was initially built, but I think it's 10 years old. I think they were in $45 million 10 years ago, and they have a shared profit model. They have never collected on that shared profit, and they just did an expansion, or they committed to an expansion this year that will add rooms. I apologize, I don't know how many, and I think that was for $15 million, $16 million. And I'm sorry, I can't tell you how many rooms that's buying, adding 60 rooms. So that's a large number. And then in Indianapolis, the numbers are even larger than that. I think it's like $100 million for their host hotel, which is not, you know, it's not really an appropriate comparable, but it can kind of indicate.
Yeah, even if it were
significant.
given as a percentage of the total development cost, right? In terms of like what that subsidy is as a portion of the total development cost. Again, I realize that's kind of off the cuff, so I'm not asking you to do the math on that right now unless it's easy. But I think that would be helpful to understand the share of public subsidy that's going into the other examples that you're looking at, just so we can try and get our heads around, you know, the picture that is part of our discussion.
I also believe that we discovered along the way, as we were discussing potentially shared ownership model, that other examples of these projects not only, I should say, they're in the red. They're not producing the payback that you think that they are, which was surprising to us.
Sure, but from an economic development standpoint, even if the hotel itself is in the red, presumably there's the larger economic development that is intended to be a benefit to the community. Right?
I'm not sure that we have that off the top of our
Right, no, and I'm just trying to, again, kind of connect certain dots in terms of, like, why do you do something if it's just gonna put you in the red? Well, there's the ancillary benefits of having that lost leader, let's say. Anyway, so I'm just trying to put it out there so that, again, the bigger picture is understood in some way.
And I think we also have to talk about how capital stacks come to be too, because if we were to retain the ownership of the property, it can be a barrier to financing for a developer as well. So we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot, or anyone else for that matter, so we just need to be very careful.
So I can speak a little bit to the model in Carmel if that's helpful for the group. It looks like that deal went over budget. It was, it opened in 2020 and they did the math in 2017. The total project was $58.5 million, and then it looks like they had $15 million in bonds and $25 million private loan that I believe was not repaid. And then, so that's $40 million in city incentives, and that's 68% of the total project cost.
Okay, thanks. So
And
that's helpful, just to have those relative numbers in
And
terms of
that's just
understanding
an
what we're-
example. I'm not saying that's industry standard, but just for
Well,
scope.
it talks about operating in the red. It's just, what doesn't mean that the hotelier's operating in the red. It just means the structure put back to where they could get some reimbursement is in the red, because there's not enough, you know, the hotel has to make a profit to be able to run. So it makes a profit to be able to run, but after it does that, there's nothing left over.
Sure. And which gets to my second question, which is related to what Commissioner Cassidy was asking about, which is, one, there is an example from the Trades District Hotel in terms of how they structured that business model so that there would be compensation, but it's deferred. And then the other part, which is, I was a little confused in terms of his question about the possibility of instituting a long-term land lease that could potentially have some repayment. And I felt like your comment was saying that this resolution would not allow that possibility. So
No,
I'm trying to get some clarification on that.
It would allow that possibility.
Okay.
This is basically saying this is the most that we could do. We may not do the most because it may not be the right project, or you may not need that much of an incentive, or we may be able to structure it in a way where, you know, you do lease the land, but for the first 10 years it's $1, and then after that it actually has some sort of value. It depends on what kind of structure the deal would turn into. So again, it's like Lori asked, this resolution does not obligate you to do anything or limit what you can do down the road. It's just a formal statement from the, especially if you were talking, everybody's been talking about the May, I think, and especially using the May language, but without some sort of support, stand that this RDC is making for the support, the CIB, and looking at other options would not be able to say that, that this is a decent possibility. That's what you're saying. This is a decent possibility. If the right thing comes along, we would do something like this. But it doesn't mean that you can't structure some other type of deal. Again, maybe they only need the incentive for 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. Then that opens the door for being really creative. So this does not stop you from being creative going forward. It, again, to me, is merely telling the CIB, look, we are committed. If the right project comes along, we could do this much. Right now, don't know that we could do more. We know that we're not getting anything from any other partners. So, but I think the CIB, when they needs to have some confidence that in the right scenario, you would support, offering that up. So, again, by using the word may, you have and I think even with wood, would need to approve what the project was anyway. But May really kind of makes that clear. But I think that the CIB would like to hear at least that this is something that they can say is on the table when they're trying to get the right project.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Madam President, would it be accurate to say that we are leaning toward version 2 with the May language before we go further?
Whoever makes a resolution can state which one they're making the motion on, which resolution.
And
they're on.
before we do any resolution, or we're obviously are going to open for public comment.
Sure.
Yeah, we do have some folks online that would like to comment.
I would say when you do your May, or that, I propose this, you state which
What
one
you're making
you're
the motion on.
supporting, and that way it'll be clear.
Yeah. Okay. Other comments from commissioners or questions before we open it for public comment?
One last comment in regards to it, because we do have 2 resolutions that we'd be considering that would change things, and we just received it. I feel a little uncomfortable voting on a different resolution when the public as a whole has not had a opportunity to look at it.
Okay. So are you proposing that we table it until our December 15th meeting? So that there's a chance for the public to review the amended version?
From a complete transparency standpoint, I would like to see something of that nature. And Danny, you've done a great job by trying to get it down so we can get things moving. But to come in at the last minute concerns me. Just not anyone here. Everybody here has the opportunity.
Do we have a quorum for our December 15th meeting?
I'll be here.
I'll be here.
And I don't want to kick the can down the road, but I want everybody to have the opportunity to look at it.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't necessarily object to that, but I would strongly insist that everyone who has come here tonight to offer comment be allowed to offer comment.
I agree that would be appropriate and necessary. So before I just want to clarify, are we moving from commissioner comment to public comment?
Will we have an opportunity to return to commissioner comment? After public
Before we
comment?
vote,
Yeah.
we should.
I'll ask that again. Will we have opportunity for comment by commissioners after public comment?
As long as I believe that's the protocol we're
There's
Okay.
no restriction in doing that.
Okay.
I mean, and honestly,
Just wanted to be
it
clear
makes
about
good sense to hear what people have to say.
Yeah, because I think public comment may inform some of our comment and thinking.
Exactly.
Exactly. However much time.
Can we do in person and then online?
Okay. So we'll start with in-person and then we'll do online comment, please. So in terms of public comment, who would like to go first?
Is there anyone in the room? Please, if you would come to the table and use the microphone. And if you are online and you want to speak, please raise your hand.
Hi.
Hello. And your name, please.
Great. My name is Greg Alexander. First off, this seems like a bad way to treat the taxpayers. Looks like giving $7 million to a private business with the twist that we were told that wouldn't happen. Second, it looks like a bad process. Do you want to stick your necks out for this boondoggle? It looks like the mayor's process, and I haven't even seen that she's like announced that this is her plan, so it's like it hasn't even been sold to the people, and a failure to plan is no excuse to rush into a mistake. Third, it's a bad way to treat the city itself. This commission, the rest of the city's Parks Department has bought a lot of land in the last couple of decades since I've been paying attention that is sitting empty. That's worse than private ownership. It's not good stewardship. We have a real estate scarcity, and this buddy's contributing to it. If we don't have a good plan, we need to come up with a better plan. We can't abandon stewardship. And finally, it's just a bad way to develop the convention center. The City Council sent a letter to the CIB at the beginning of this year, I think, asking them to refrain from building any gerbil tubes. Instead, we need to integrate the pedestrian center transportation into the city's transportation. If the city can't serve the needs of the pedestrian transportation, it sure as heck isn't going to drive pedestrian foot traffic, literally foot traffic. The stated mission goal of this whole project, foot traffic, literally foot traffic, pedestrians downtown. That's not going to happen if we have segregated transportation within the facility. And so for this particular property, the answer for transportation is obvious. The B line already exists. It already has a bridge over 3rd Street. We've already paid for that facility. We already maintain that facility. We already own that facility. We should use that facility. Whatever is developed here, whether it's a hotel or anything else, needs to connect to the B line as its first priority. And the existing convention center needs to connect to the B line. And the CIB has abandoned this, even though the council has asked them to consider this a priority. If we're gonna give something away, get something in return, get it in writing from the CIB. We're not building any more durable tubes. We're gonna use the B line, or, we have to do something. You can't just give a blank check to another unit of government. You have a responsibility for this redevelopment. Thank you.
Is there a time limit? No, you were. That's why I just realized.
Just let 'em go.
Have the timer on. Okay, is there anybody else?
Did we want to alternate?
No, we were gonna do
I thought-
this and
I
then
never
that.
had her
Oh, I
question
thought
in
we were-
person and then
yeah,
that
my
one.
bad.
Hi, Isabel Piedmont Smith, City Council, District 1. So I wanted to refresh everybody's memory that on May 6, 2024, 8 of the 9 City Council members signed a letter to this body regarding the property in question and its use for a hotel for support of the convention center. And we clearly stated that we did not want to have any other taxpayer funding go to this project, including the hotel, other than the food and beverage tax. And that we recognized the 2 purchases that added up to almost $7 million by the RDC for this property. And we felt that money needed to be refunded back into the TIF because there are many more important and urgent community needs than a hotel for the convention center. That's 8 out of 9 council members. And although Attorney Kerr did outline at the beginning of the meeting, the different responsibilities of the RDC versus the council versus the executive branch, this is taxpayer money, and we are the elected representatives of the taxpayers. And I feel strongly that we should have a say in this. And the only reason it didn't come to the city council as a purchase to begin with is that it was divided between 2 parcels that individually did not add up to $5 million. But if they had been done together, that would have been something that would automatically go to the city council for approval. As it should. I very much respect everybody who serves on the RDC, and the director of the RDC and our economic development director. But we are elected, and we also have the best interests in mind of the city of Bloomington and the economic development of Bloomington. And we should be looped in, at least as a courtesy that this was happening today, but more profoundly be consulted as to what is done with this high amount of taxpayer revenue. To me, it seems premature to kind of broadcast that you'd be willing to give away this property. It seems to me that the CIB could do another RFP with revised qualifications, and then see what happens. This whole thing is premised on one developer demanding certain things. And along the way, we've heard from the CIB that some of the things are fungible. Well, let's throw it out there. Let's see what other developers might take a bite before we give away the farm and say, hey, you don't really have to negotiate. We're just going to give this to you, which is what you would be signaling with this resolution. So thank you very much.
Mr. Wicker.
Good evening, John Weichard. I'm here as president of the Capital Improvement Board. I came to speak in favor of your wood resolution, so I'm just speaking generally now and making observations about whether it's your wood or may resolution that you intend to look at. I've written my remarks to keep myself disciplined and to save you time, because otherwise I could ramble for more time than you might care to listen. And I want to express my appreciation to Jane, to Anna, to everybody who's been involved in this project. It's taken time, but it's complicated, and that's why it's taken time, and I appreciate everybody's efforts as we've moved this forward. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak in regards to this project. As you know, in 2019, the College Square property was purchased and offered in support of the Convention Center expansion project, which has always included a host hotel. That's always been part of the project. Since then, the property has been off the tax rolls and generated no property tax revenue for the RDC or for TIF benefit. But priorities change, goals change. New administration has different priorities than the previous administration, and I respect that. In October of 2024, the Capital Improvement Board selected Dora Hospitality as the developer of the hotel, and Dora had a preference for your site over the locations the CIB offered in the RFP. The reality now is there is a significant funding gap that exists for development of the hotel as described in the RFP, and which including the purchase price of the property. There's a significant gap. Although all three of the hoteliers who responded to the RFP told us they could, in fact, build what we described in the RFP. They were confident they could do that. In an effort to narrow the gap that exists, the CIB has offered to reduce cost in the design by approximately $15 million from Dora's estimate by revisiting those design elements, because we too want to help close this gap. That's a bell we won't be able to unring, just like it's a bell that you will not be able to unring if you offer this property in some fashion. We know that. Even with that, a significant funding gap still appears to exist. Let me acknowledge in this debate there are goals in conflict, and all of these goals are legitimate public goals, be they those described by the council, be they those described in this project. But I would like to point out that the economic benefits of the expansion and host hotel have been identified in market analysis to include the potential for $9 million in new annual revenue to our community from increased visitors who will frequent our hotels, shops, restaurants, galleries, and performance spaces, $13 to $18 million annually if you include new jobs and increased revenues in food and beverage, innkeepers, and property taxes, 500 new jobs associated with the expansion, a new hotel, and downtown businesses. The College Square property is clearly the best location for the host hotel because of its proximity to our square, our shops, our galleries, our restaurants, and the best walkable opportunity for visitors to interact as pedestrians with our community. If whatever resolution passes, I am totally confident that both the RDC and the CIB have done everything possible for the development of the host hotel on this site. We can ask no more of you, and we have given what we can give. It will be left up to Dora Hospitality to increase its investment of private capital to close any remaining gap. That's up to them. We've each done what we can do. If the resolution fails, the RDC and Dora, if the resolution fails and the RDC and Dora cannot reach agreement, the CIB will continue to work with Dora on their interest in our available properties. We selected them based on an RFP that offered south and west properties. If this fails, if this project fails with you, we will still go back to Dora and say, South and West were in the original RFP. Do you have interest in South and West since this was not possible with the North site? If that is unsuccessful, the CIB will be back at square one with a new RFP for hotel developers. To be clear, a full-service 200-room host hotel is a requirement. It's not an option. If a new RFP happens, I see the same funding obstacle to development on your site of a hotel if the developer is required to purchase it at full price to recover costs. I simply see that as happening. And if not a hotel, I'm not certain what other private developer can offer you what provides the same economic benefits to our community on that site as what a host hotel will provide. So I urge your support for a resolution to move this forward, and I hope you will view this as an investment and not a loss. And I thank you for your time.
Any other in-person? If not, we will go to online public comment. Okay, let's move to online public comment, please.
Jerry Hayes.
Can he unmute?
He's muted.
Jerry, can you unmute?
Okay. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm driving a little late to the party and a little bit late to this meeting, so I really just have some questions. First of all, I'm in favor of the host hotel on that site. But if it can't be built on that site, just either west or south would be okay with me. So the questions I have are, what did the city pay for that property, the Bugger Robertson property?
Somebody needs to tell them that.
Do you want to clarify the purpose of this period of time?
Yeah, so I'm just going to clarify that public comment, you are certainly welcome to answer questions. However, it is not a Q&A period. So we will certainly take your questions into consideration, but that's not part of our, part of today's public comment. So comments are one way. I will note in terms of the revised resolution, which again, we may wind up timing this so that the public can see it and that would answer the question, but the revised resolution does include the information on the figures on what the city paid for the site. So I'm just going to mention that because it's something that public in person and online, I don't remember if online it was put in the chat, but just anyway.
It is in the chat,
Okay.
and we did share it on the screen for everybody.
Okay, anyway, so just bottom line is public comment is welcome, but it's one way.
Okay. So I'm in favor of the hotel, but I'm not in favor of giving away the land. As someone mentioned earlier, it is taxpayer money, and it shouldn't be just given away. I would recommend maybe considering a long-term lease with maybe $1 a year for, I think the economic life of a hotel is about 40 years. We could probably look a little over 50 years maybe. That's without any renovations. So I'd recommend, at least the city would retain ownership that way and be able to use it for something in the future if they choose to. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else online for public comment?
Does
Please
anybody?
raise your hand.
We do.
I see a hand raised.
Looks like it's Sophie. Yep. Ask her to unmute.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. This is Hopi Strasburg, City Council District 3. I appreciate that my colleague, Councilmember Piedmont Smith, was there in person and already spoke to the letter that we sent, and I just wanted to highlight that as well and say that I am still in agreement with that letter that we sent over, I think it was earlier this year. I don't want to give that land away. I think that that's not appropriate, and I understand having to close a financial gap in terms of, I think I looked at the assessed value of that land earlier today, and we paid significantly more than the assessed value of that land, and that's one of those disappointing realities that I'm looking back and going, oh, before I was involved, there was this decision made by somebody who might not even be at this table at this point, and now we have to manage the consequences of a land purchase that now we can't get back in full value. But I think that the resolution as it is currently written, I have not reviewed the revised edition. I think that it goes too far in saying that we could potentially just give it to somebody. So I hope you take that into consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next public comment?
Sandy, gotta tell him he doesn't know.
He's not rigid.
Andy?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm, yes.
I can be heard?
Yes, sir.
Well, Isabel Piedmont Smith, my colleague on the council, was very well spoken in her comments, and as President Hopi Stosswell also explained, she feels the same, and my discussions with council members is that the vast majority, super majority of council members still feel very much the same. And that sort of takes me back to a point that was made very early in the meeting, or a comment that was made at the early part of the meeting about politics and about the difference between the duties and responsibilities of jobs and workings of the various elected representative bodies in the community. And, you know, I've always objected to that term, use of the term politics as something that a legislative body does, particularly at the local level, that's somehow not primarily motivated and done in the interest of the community overall. I think, you know, politics is, simplest definition is just the activities associated with governing in an area. And we all of us share the interest of bettering the community in what we do. That's why what we do, and it's what drives our decisions. Whether it's the RDC, the CIB, the city council, the county council, the mayor's office, you know, whatever. But part of that, a big part of that community interest and of bettering the community that I feel is not really being touched on here is the issue of trust, and trust in the larger community. The community believes and understands that the F&B tax was what was going to fund this project. Now, we can't say on one hand, oh, the hotel is an absolute essential, integral part of the project. Mr. Whitecard just got done saying it is part of the project. It's part of the project. And yet also, on the other hand, say, oh, but it's actually a different part of the project, so we can sort of think about it differently, treat it differently when it comes to funding that. It's not. The public will see that as not a honest face argument. I feel very strongly that that's how the public will feel about this. Council members have been supportive in large part, or in part, due to the understanding of the food and beverage tax being the source of revenues, and we're not going to have mission creep, and we're not going to be taking from other funds that are critical and essential for other uses in the city. And the council members who were skeptical, so the council members who've been supportive, that's part of the understanding. The council members who have been skeptical predicted just this kind of thing. Just this kind of cost overruns and the need to dip into other revenue sources. And I really believe that this undermines the public trust. At the very least, please table this for now, postpone until the next meeting. There's a lot of things to think about. Maybe there is an arrangement. Mr. Hayes' comment supporting the idea of not giving it away, but having some kind of a lease arrangement where the city retains. Maybe there are some good options that would be acceptable to the majority of people and stakeholders, and preserve the interests of the community but also allow the project to move forward, right? But we don't, there's no time right now for a lot of us to actually get our head around some of those options. So at the very least, please postpone. One last question I just want to throw out, for example, the statement was made earlier that, well, the hotel for the convention center won't be able to charge premium pricing during events like other hotels can. Well, if they're not having an event at the convention center, but there is a major community event going on, like a football game with a new success we've seen with the IU's program, or other large event, does that mean that the convention center will not be allowed to or not increase their prices at all, or premium prices for rooms during those events because they're not having any kind of convention possibly during that event? And if so, does that undercut the other hotels that someone earlier in this meeting said kind of rely on those big events to make up for the downtimes? I mean, there are still a lot of questions here. Please postpone for at least for tonight.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else online who would like to make a public comment? It appears none. So I will return it to commissioners. If you would like to have any further discussion before either a motion or a table.
I'd like to see us determine which resolution we're going to look at, either further tonight or whether we defer it. We ought to land on one resolution, so let's do that. So with that said, I'm going to move for version 2 that has May in it and make that our kind of our binding document.
So we have a motion on the table not to vote on the resolution, but to opt for which resolution will be part of our business agenda. I'm just restating that for clarity. So we have a motion for that. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a first and a second on opting for the revised for the agenda. We don't need to do a roll call vote because Lori is no longer online. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we have unanimous approval for the revised resolution for discussion. So the next item for discussion is, do we want to vote on this? Do we have any further discussion about which, now that we know which resolution we're talking about, it's the amended version. Any further discussion about that? And at the point that discussion may be done, again, I've heard a couple different options, which includes either a motion to vote on this or possibly tabling this because of some other issues that are part of the discussion tonight, not the least of which is that while the commissioners can see this and while some of the public has seen the revised amendment, that's not universal. So
I would make a motion to table this to the next meeting so that there's full transparency in regards to it.
I'll second it.
okay, we've got a first and a second to table this amended resolution until the December 15th meeting, where we can have any further clarity or information that's needed, again, starting with sharing the revised amendment for public circulation. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that motion to table passes unanimously. I have one request, if I may, in terms of what may be on the agenda for December 15th. So certainly the revised resolution will be there. At the beginning of her presentation, Director Cooper Smith mentioned that normally a memo might accompany this kind of resolution. I think that's definitely needed here. I mean, certainly the comments we've heard today, the clarifications we've heard is all good stuff. Having it in writing for people to review, especially people who are not literally at this meeting right now, would be really helpful. So whether it's a memo that just explains a lot of the good information that we've already covered today, but just to put it in a written form that can be part of the discussion, that would be really helpful. So. Okay, that was our first resolution on the agenda. We have about 20 more. We are gonna move ahead to Resolution 25-137, approval and extension of Resolution 22-18 for construction inspection agreement for improvements along 17th Street between Monroe Street and Grant Street. It looks like we have Mr. Ayton here to talk to us about it. Thank you.
Roy Ayton with City Engineering Department. These next three resolutions, as well as the last three resolutions we'll hear this evening, is they're more of a housekeeping item. These are all resolutions that have already been approved. Funding's been added for projects. For one reason or another, the project's gone over. We're asking for extensions in the expiration dates on the resolutions. The first one is for the 17th Street project. The original resolution expired, I'm not sure, December 2023, but we actually have VS Engineering is still on that project, and we're still working out it's an NDOT job, so there's issues with NDOT and the final change order and the final construction record, and it's been idle for a while, but that is coming back up, so there may be some more funding that'll have to be applied to that. We're not asking for additional funding from any of the original resolutions, just the extension of the expiration date to December 31st, 2026.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. Any questions or comments from commissioners on Resolution 25-137? Yes.
Yeah, you just mentioned this had been idle for a while. Is there a reason this hasn't come to us sooner with the expiration date of 2023?
We did not realize it expired.
Okay.
And then when we had submitted an invoice, it was caught as, hey, this is actually expired resolution. Let's go ahead and extend it. So yeah, it was.
Sorry. No, it happens. It just
appreciate it.
We wouldn't process the claim, so we force the issue.
As they shouldn't, and this one was already expired. Some of the others that you're going to see this evening, their expirations at the end of the December of this month. It's not going to let us, we're not going to be finished with the project, so those we're just asking for extensions. But it was a good time for us to go through all of our resolutions and make sure we're right with our expiration dates.
And on some of them, based upon the state additional funding, you may have to come back for something.
Additional time on the existing
dollars.
funding. Yeah, we don't need any additional funding at all.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if there's no further questions or comments from commissioners, I'll open up to public comment on Resolution 25-137, either online or in person. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion for this resolution, please.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 25-137,
Second.
25-138, and 25-139 together. Can that be done?
Well, we didn't present it that way in terms of the vote,
Yeah.
but we can look into that for the next resolution. So.
Would you like to stay with 137?
137, I'll make a motion to approve as noted.
Second.
Okay, I have first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, so we now have resolutions 25-138 and 25-139, which it sounds like Commissioner Cassidy might like to suggest that we consider together.
Since they're just time.
Right.
Is it still an it's just an extension of time with the last two as well?
On both of these is, once again, just an extension of the expiration dates, changing in funding. But I can go over any details on either resolution if you want to.
But for clarity, it is 25-138, 25-139, and then also 25-149 and 25-150, is that correct?
Later at the end of the agenda, you have 148, 149, and 150.
Well, 138 and 139 are basically the same project.
Exactly. Yes,
and it's a different project at the end, so
Okay.
I suggest you split them up.
Okay, so we'll keep 138, 139. You can talk about both. When someone makes a motion, make clear that you're making a motion for both, and then commissioners can decide if they want to accept that motion. So, we'll listen to Mr. Ayton explain
you.
for the next two.
So
Thank you.
Resolution 25-138 and 25-139 are both for the B-Line Extension project. That project was delayed for environmental reasons. It was pushed out for about a year. So once again, we had some expiration. So the two resolutions before you expired. All the other resolutions that were with that project had although expired, we've already expended the funds. We didn't need it. These two resolutions, the first being for railroad flagging, for safety flagging that's on the railroad, and then also for our construction inspection contract with the project. We're asking for extensions on their expiration dates. We will have additional invoices coming in for those two projects. Not much left, but there will be some funding. In both situations, we're asking the expiration date to be extended to December 31st, 2026, and once again, no additional or no changes in funding being requested.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from commissioners on these two? If not, I will entertain a motion, please.
Clarification. You said there's additional funding, which I assume are additional invoices that'll need to be paid.
Yes.
But you're not going to be in front of this body asking for additional money.
Yeah, so at this point, these contracts already have a not to exceed amount. Resolutions are matched those not to exceed amounts. We're under that for what we're paying out on the contracts. So we do not need any additional
I assume that's what you
addendums.
meant, but I wanted you to clarify it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. If there's any further comments or questions, if not, I'll entertain a motion. Again, the proposal is that the motion would be for both Resolution 25-138 and 25-139.
I'll make a motion to approve 25-138 and 25-139 for extension of time as presented.
Second.
We've got a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those motion for both of those resolutions passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 25-140, approval of rent credit for Dimension Mill Incorporated. Who would like to speak to that?
I'll speak to this. As commissioners undoubtedly remember, the south wall of the Dimension Mill at 642 North Madison failed earlier this year due to tuck pointing issues. That wall, the commission approved repairs, emergency stabilization and then repairs. The wall was taken down and then rebuilt brick by brick with new mortar, proper tuck pointing. It looks great. It's back in service. However, it was offline for 122 days. This caused major revenue challenges for the mill as that's some of their premium space that when they're leasing it, they're able to really drive a lot of revenue into their operation. We're not trying to make up for that revenue, but we did want to recommend that the RDC issue a rent credit based on the percentage of the event, the percentage of the total square feet of the event hall and the days it was out of service. So that's what this resolution does. Just to back up one more step, the lease does not offer a provision for this. It was silent on this. It makes a recommendation, or it offers a provision for if the redevelopment commission is inactive and doesn't make a correction or a repair in an appropriate time frame, then it gives the tenant the ability to go ahead and pursue that and get reimbursed for it. But it really doesn't speak to this particular issue. And since 122 days was such a long time, Anna?
I thought that, so there's two different leases. I thought the first one did specify loss of use.
Okay. We should check on that.
Yeah.
Will you look for that? And
I'm
I'll,
looking.
I'll talk through how we got to the math. For the total amount, we looked at the rent payment. I just noticed, I think I noticed a mistake. I'm just double checking. Nope, that's correct. For the rent payment, we took the total rent with the 2% annual increases for 2025. The rent amount is $104,040, which breaks down to $285 a day, and at approximately 19% of the 18,563 square feet, that yields an amount of $6,657.89. If you use, there is a slight discrepancy. If you use a flat 19%, it's less than the 6,657.89. I was doing this in a spreadsheet, and the actual percentage is 19.14561224, and that's the rate that I used for the calculation in the legislation. So if you notice that, that's what the difference is.
Thank you for that.
And that's for 122 days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that math clarification.
Yeah, sorry, I knew somebody would catch that.
So, we're trying to clarify the lease.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking up the lease. At least the renewal from
Dana, do you remember
2023.
looking at that? I've got one of them up right now.
I do not, whether it was in there or not, actually is irrelevant if the RDC determines that it is something that they should give a credit for. They have the ability to do that, whether it's in the lease or not. What that would make a difference is whether the RDC had to do it or not. But I do not remember.
Well, I think it makes a little difference, at least in my mind. If there's language in there that requires it, I'd like to know what the terms and conditions of that requirement is. If it's not in there, then to Dana Kerr's point,
I wonder if
we can come up
commissioners-
with our, a determination.
If you want to return to this item, I'd be happy to pour over the lease while you.
Such repair, restoration, or rebuilding, all of which are herein called, the repairs shall be commenced within a reasonable time after such damage or destruction, and shall be diligently prosecuted to completion. During the period of repair, and so long as the damages or destruction is not caused by the tenant, tenant's subleases, members, or assigns, the rent payable by tenant herein shall abate if tenant is totally deprived of possession of the premises. If the tenant is able in good faith to continue its operation of its business during the period of repair, then the rent payable by tenant shall be reduced in the proportion that the floor area of the premises that is under repair bears to the total floor area of the premises. For example, if 25% of the premises is under repair, tenant's rent during their repair period shall be reduced by 25%. This is section 801 of the original Dimension DMI agreement.
1866.
Yep, resolution 1866.
Wow, what section was that?
That takes care of it.
That takes care of that.
What section was that?
8.01.
So, commissioners, you might want to consider, and Dana can give you the right language, but the whereas clause, the third to last whereas clause is not correct. So that, perhaps that whereas clause could cite, was that what number was it, Anna? 801?
8.01.
So it could say whereas section 8.01.
Instead of recital 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Dana, I'm so sorry.
Well, we can make an amendment.
Is it even necessary because we followed exactly what the lease stated to the letter?
Since it was followed to the letter, I don't think it'd be necessary to change it, but I could, and if they make the decision to make that edit, I could do so.
John Fernandez has his hand up.
Oh, Mr. Fernandez?
Hi, you all. Sorry I can't join you in person. I'm in my car, so hopefully you can hear me okay. But, our reading of the lease was one that is consistent with the resolution in that it shall, you shall, give us a credit based on the proportion of the space. I would note that, the way the mill's set up, the event hall is a different kind of space compared to co-working. So if we lost, a section of the building for 120 days, and we, you know, couldn't accommodate, let's say, 8 desks, we could probably move that around within the mill and make it work because there's some capacity. The event hall is a very different offering. It's leased for specific events. The lease doesn't include any lost revenue, which I would note in that 122 days, we lost over $40,000 of event revenue, where we had to give back a deposit and help these customers find, you know, alternative, you know, accommodations, which in almost every case we were able to do that thanks to the, you know, great partners we have throughout the city, and that we're able to accommodate those events. So I think the reading of the lease is pretty clear, in my view at least, in that you know, the redevelopment commission as the landlord, you know, shall provide a credit, and in this case, I think it's a reasonable amount of money considering the total, you know, economic impact of losing the event hall.
So thank you for that clarification. I'm going to open up to questions and comments from commissioners now if the presentation part is done. Mr. West.
I have no quarrel with the abatement, but I do think the resolution needs to read consistently with the lease, and that 6th whereas does not. So I would suggest we amend it, and then I'd be happy to bring it up for a vote.
Is that necessary, Dana? I mean,
No, but I'm almost there.
Okay.
I think it is.
Well, it makes me feel better if you
Yeah.
approve the work that,
Yeah.
the extra work that we did.
So should we just pause on this and come back to it so that we can have the amended language to approve it? Does that sound okay?
I can provide you that language now if you'd like to.
Okay, if that's okay with commissioners to move ahead with the amended language?
It's reflective of the.
So the 6 whereas
The
will be
6
replaced with
whereas.
what language?
Would be changed to per section 8.01 of the lease, the RDC shall provide a credit based on the percentage of square feet that could not be utilized.
It's close enough. You've recited the section, so.
People can find it if they need it.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Okay, so we have the amended language to replace the 6 whereas that specifically cites the part of the lease that applies that has been successfully otherwise done in the lease. So do we, any other comments or questions, commissioners, before we get a motion? Okay, motion, anybody?
Yeah, I'll make one.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we have one, first and a
Let me
second.
make it first.
We have a first and a second. All in favor say aye for resolution 25-140.
Aye.
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 I didn't know I made it.
I thought you said you made a motion.
I hadn't yet, but.
Okay, sorry, that's what I heard. Okay, so retroactive first? We had the vote, we're good, okay.
I'm fine.
Okay, okay, so that, 25-140 is passed unanimously. Thank you, as amended. Okay, we're on to 25-141, approval of agreement with Adaptive Commons for comprehensive and coordinated design of Hopewell West Block 4. Who would like to speak to that?
We would like to actually table that for this evening. We would like them to give you a presentation on this, just to be able to provide some more context for the resolution. And they were unable to make it this evening.
Okay, so do we need to approve a table? Okay, so do we have a motion to?
Motion to table 25-141.
Second.
First and a second, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, tabled unanimously. Resolution 25-142 is approval of an agreement for BCM use of Jackson Street and Alley at Hopewell West Development. Who would like to speak to that?
Hi, Anna Dragovich, Capital Projects Manager with ESD. 25-142 is about an agreement between RDC and BCM, who is the contractor at the core building. The City of Bloomington Engineering Department is in the process of finalizing construction on Jackson Street to the west of that building, and then an alley to the north. And what this agreement would establish is BCM's responsibility for any potential damage that they make to the street once Crater is out of there and before the street is transferred to the Board of Public Works. Because there are so many constraints around the core building, they need kind of areas to place their construction materials, set up cranes, things like that, and they are kind of landlocked into using those two adjacent streets just because they're so close to their building. So we want to make sure that any damage that does happen, we don't hope that there will be, but if there is any, we want to make sure that the RDC is covered.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Any questions or comments from commissioners on 25-142? Mr. West.
Yeah, I see where, and I may be, I'm practicing law again, this always upsets Dana. I see where they have they meaning BCM has an obligation to protect. Yeah. I get that. But I don't see anywhere where it requires them to restore. And I think that the language needs to be a little stronger.
It is a brand new road.
So I don't know how to, I don't have amended language.
Are best management practices referenced somewhere else in a way that would include that?
I mean, it doesn't define what best management practices
Well, yeah,
is.
and that's what I'm
It's
asking.
capitalized like it's a rule somewhere.
Is that a reference to a specific document?
BMPs are for
For the stormwater protection, BMPs, best management practices, I think that was carryover language from that.
So is it an actual document that can be referenced? And it sounds like it just has to deal with
It
stormwater
is
anyway.
a permit, and they have a grading permit.
Yeah.
So yes, it is a document that they're already tied to.
But it only, I agree, because it only relates to stormwater, you said?
That's my understanding.
That would be my understanding also.
So it's not it doesn't attend to everything we want it to attend to.
And are they currently using Jackson Street now without authorization? Is this authorization to use it?
I think because Crater and Crater quote unquote owns it now because it's their construction site. They had been using it when it was subgrade. And so they were using it.
Yeah.
I'm referring to Roy because he's more experienced and versed in the details.
Great.
I'm so glad you're here, Roy.
So Crater and Crater are currently constructing the Jackson Street project, and they're not completed yet, so we have not gotten to substantial completion. So they are in charge of everything that they have built so far, Jackson Street, the alley, and everything like that. They have not allowed them on the new, because they're responsible for it until we take it over. They are not allowing them on there. There's some violations that they're kind of moving around, but they've got it roped off right now. We are close to accepting that section of street from them, and hopefully we can do that before the end of this year. At that point then, the engineering department will accept it, get a substantial completion. Crater and Crater will be pretty much off the hook for everything they've built, and the possession of it goes back to the RDC, Redevelopment Commission. So it's your responsibility then once we accept it. So this agreement then is because they want to use that area, is let's protect this. If they're going to be allowed to use it, they need to protect it until it's completed.
When do they want to use it?
Like as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Tomorrow?
Yesterday. Yeah. So they're very ready.
And there is language in number 12 that says that BCM shall return possession of the property in the same or improved condition as when BCM took possession. Any improvements must be approved by city staff.
Where does it say that?
Number 12. I'll keep going. It's in, there's a exhibit,
No, it's in the exhibit. It's not in the,
Yeah.
it's not in the resolution.
it's on,
The resolution is accepting this.
I see it.
yeah, page 56 of the packet.
So we did try to put protections to get it back, at least the same conditions or better.
Okay, well, that's helpful.
Yeah. Roy, I got a question.
Sure.
How are we gonna make sure what you guys accept is what comes back?
So after we accept, the engineering will be done with it, except for we have what we call a warranty period.
Right.
So we'll do a 1-year inspection on the project to make sure it was built and there wasn't latent defects that have appeared. In the interim then, I believe, is it Anna? I don't want to speak for you, but
It's okay.
you'll be watching it with our help in engineering this also.
Yeah.
But I think she's involved with core building in that project, so it'll come through that.
I understand you took photographs
Yeah.
of existing conditions.
Yes.
So you would have evidence of what it was prior.
Yes.
Then it's a matter of who tore it up, and who's gonna fix it, and what's the cost to fix it. And then, unfortunately, as it is, then we as a community end up having to repair something that we had brand new, that we've got one contractor that finished it, then we got another contractor that wants to use it to finish up the project.
Yep.
Can they work around and not get on the new road?
So typically on a projects, then they're accepted by the Board of Public Works and become public right of way, and then we make them get a right of way excavation permit, because these are private parcels still owned by the RDC. They will not have excavation permits on them.
The Bloomington Housing Authority, who owns the property, claims that they will incur additional costs to try to build affordable housing by any delays of the BCM not being able to use these. So that's the claims that we received from ABHA asking for this resolution. And of course, whether or not they took, planned ahead enough to make sure they had some place to put their crane and things like that beforehand, I think there's more on them. But that is what we're being told, is that if there's a delay, it's going
then they're gonna ask for
cost them
additional
So,
delay costs.
Well, if they do damage, then it's still gonna incur cost.
Yeah.
yes,
So
yes, correct.
I can't imagine how putting that kind of equipment on a new road won't cause damage.
Sounds like a timing and sequence problem that they created, but yeah. And they're probably gonna try to use it anyway, if you get right down to it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the realities of what happens in the construction world. So, what's a solution to make sure that we're able to financially have anything fixed without finger pointing, which, because we've got a contractor that's got a 1-year warranty period. We've got another contractor that is trying to build affordable housing, of which we have been involved because we provided the land and we provided some other incentives on that, to make sure that when it's all said and done, we have affordable housing that's right, and we have our roads that don't have to be reconstructed, or we walk out and find out we just bought a brand new car and it's got a dented door.
I think you're on the right track. First of all, you establish that you're not allowed on the property until you get this resolution signed, and you have a memorandum of agreement between you and BCM, saying you understand, you break it, you bought it type agreement.
Right.
Then also you get what you inspect. So you're gonna have to establish that, after the project, you'll have to go in and you'll have to compare, before, here's our photos.
Right.
Here's your photos afterwards. And we'll have a collection of photos ourselves through engineering that's just involved with our project. Matter of fact, Kreider has a selection of photos already because they're protecting their investment as well because they have to warranty it. So if they do have a latent defect or anything that we go back on warranty, they're going to also want to prove it wasn't, if it was someone else.
Right.
And then if anyone else wants to get out there to make sure. And then we'll just have to remember when BCM is complete and that project's being accepted over, or the expiration of whenever your agreement is, somebody goes out there and makes sure that we're covered.
Yeah.
Because my understanding from Public Works is that once the Board of Public Works accepts them into their inventory, it now becomes the city's, and they must get permits to be on the property through the engineering department. So if they accept the roads later this month, then this agreement is stated that it terminates, and then it becomes an issue for the Board of Public Works to determine what they want to do. So this is a stopgap to try to get for them to continue working. Again, it is. I make no recommendation one way or another on this. Only this is what has been asked, and this is what's presented.
So but you said that. So we're only looking at a stopgap for what, 3 weeks?
No, I wouldn't say that. Before the Board of Public Works takes it over, is what you're saying, from that point where Kreider has completed substantial completion and it's presented at the Board of Public Works and they accept the right-of-way. The problem with that is I'm not sure that's going to happen anytime soon. I don't think we're going to be taking that plat because that would be all the right-of-way. And this is a project that you have not developed out Hopewell West yet. So it's not, they're not going to assume responsibility for all the right-of-way to Hopewell West until, I believe, the RDC, and you may have to correct me on this, until the RDC is completed with that entire block. What you're going to do, you're not going to want to give the right-of-way up yet. So,
and some planning may change.
So it may be longer
Okay,
than that.
now I get it.
Yep.
Okay.
So, how do we, other than just visual inspecting and say, you know, you're responsible, you're responsible, because unfortunately, you know, in these construction projects, finger pointing occurs, and then as a community, we end up with something that is less than desirable from our end result. Is there a solution to work around it, or we have none? Because we're talking change orders to Summit, to BHA, from a scheduling conflict, if they can't do this, to work around. I'm just looking to try to figure out a solution so that the community as a whole, we don't get caught up in a.
What do you mean Summit to BHA?
Yeah.
Well, BHA is the property owner. And
Summit Hill.
Summit Hill.
Community Development
Corporation, which,
yes.
you know, I may slash that as BHA, which is previously, understand.
So what, I'm trying to.
The question I have is, based on what I just heard in regards to BHA indicating, or Summit Development, indicating there may be a cost associated if they're not able to utilize this road to help complete the project. So we're into a financial situation irregardless. If they don't tear everything up, it's all great, but we've got.
But is that our responsibility to pay for the, I don't.
No, it shouldn't be our
No,
responsibility,
no.
but what my concern is that from a standpoint of the community as a whole, is that we buy something brand new, we put it in, it has a warranty period, and then someone else comes in to rightfully try to do things in a sequence. So obviously there's some schedule conflict that has occurred, because they should probably already be at this point.
Yes.
And then at the end, Roy and Anna have to go out and say, well, it's either fantastic or, hey, we got a problem. And then you got to determine how we're going to get someone to actually fix that problem. And, you know,
I guess I don't understand where you're headed.
I'm just trying to figure
Randy.
out how we get.
The resolution, I think, speaks to that.
Okay.
Now, I also think that we take the risk of negating the warranty.
Right.
Because someone else was on the property, and we're going to have the great American debate forever as to as to whose responsibility it is. I'm not particularly in love with doing this, except that I know the end product is something that we're really trying to achieve, but I think we're, because of their bad scheduling or whatever the case may be, you know, we're stuck approving something that's not really in our best interest. So
What's the consequence if we didn't pass the resolution?
they'd have to figure out a different way to do it.
Either that or they use it either way and we have no protection in the writing.
Well, if they use it, I mean, they just use it.
I mean, have you been on a job site before?
As soon as you get a place that's out of the mud, they're on it.
You're listing our concerns with it as well. They're running into a phase now where they're gonna start doing their subs, their electrician, their plumbing, their drywall people, each of their own companies, and all of them are gonna park wherever they can park. It will be as close to the building as possible. It's gonna be nearly impossible for us to keep everyone off. This way we assign a responsibility to somebody. BCM is the general contractor for it. All the subs are under that general contractor. Let them watch and let them be responsible. They violate this agreement, then you have something to prosecute back on to the what.
Okay.
No good resolution, but we have to get the building built and we have to have our roads.
This may be the most protection that we have.
And you've got good pictures and you've got good experiences.
And Anna's gonna go out there every day.
Oh, good.
Okay,
Well,
do
that
we
makes all
feel
the
like we've
difference.
reached
Yep,
a
we're good.
level of
Okay.
satisfaction for questions on 25-142? If so, I will open it for public comment. Anything online or in person? Seeing none, I will entertain.
Margie's got her hand up.
Oh, Margie, do you have? Oh, sorry, I didn't see that.
That's a cursor.
Oh, is it?
Oh,
Is it?
well, it's white. It's a cursor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It was positioned on Margie, but she was like, "Not me." Okay.
It's an arrow.
So there are no public comments. We are now open for a motion for Resolution 25-142.
Move approval of resolution 25-142.
I'll begrudgingly second it.
The first and the second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Since we are now well past the 2-hour mark for this meeting, I'm going to invite a momentary break of like 3 minutes just to kind of catch your breath, whatever you need to do, but be back at 7:21. 3 minutes. Everybody good? Can we jump back into action?
Christina's still out of the room.
Oh,
I
Christina?
can go ahead and start it. I would suggest taking the resolution 25-143 through 147 or 146 together. They're all just renumbering.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for that
That's a
recommendation.
good idea.
All right, I just.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so we have had a we are now on resolution 25-143. We've had a recommendation from the director that we take 143 through 147 together.
146.
146, I apologize. Because they all are the same kind of renumbering of this. So I will invite you to talk about that now to us.
Yeah, we got a request from John Fernandez and team to renumber some of the units at the Forge for ease of mail service, I believe it was. Yeah. So Bloom was originally Unit 2. They would like to go to Unit 200. Folia was Unit 4. They'd like to go to 103. K23 Films was Unit 5, now going to Unit 104. Vivum, it was Unit 3 going to Unit 201. So this is just that amendment.
Yeah, so each lease would need an amendment to amend the number. Mm-hmm. So any approval of the 4 leases would be approving the renumbering at the.
Okay, so you got the gist of the next 4 resolutions. Any questions or comments from commissioners before we make a motion?
Yeah, just quick question. This may be for John, he's still online. I assume these new numbers were set up by someone other than the tenant just randomly picking a number. So this is some sequence that's going to work going forward.
He's gone.
Yeah, Jen, I can speak to that. This is, this is on me, frankly. I mean, as we were doing the leases, we were basing the unit numbers almost on a time basis of when someone came in and leased. And as we were developing our internal directories and internal signage, we thought it would make a lot more sense to come up with a rationale and a structure for the suite numbers or unit numbers that were more effective in terms of like wayfinding within the building. So that's the proposal we came up was to have everything on the first floor, starting with the 100, and everything on the second floor with the 200, just to simplify things. So, apologize for having to come back and spend the commission's time on these amendments, but it'll make I think, a big difference in just terms of how the property is presented to tenants, but also to their customers.
Thank you.
Okay, with that clarification, any further questions or comments from commissioners? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move for approval for resolution 25, 143, 144, 145, and 146.
Second.
We've got a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motions pass unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we are now on to resolution 25-147, which is the approval of a first amendment to the 2024 CDBG Physical Improvements Grant Agreement with New Hope for Families. It looks like we have to speak here to that.
Yeah, Matt Swinney with Hand. This is just an extension of the agreement to December 31st of 2026, much farther than we should need, but basically due to prior issues with environmental reviews for previous projects, it's kind of shoved the current project back farther, so we had to extend the agreement.
And I would note that because of extending the agreement, legal has changed some of the wording in our agreements, our base agreements, and so felt it prudent to bring this wording into line with our new set of wording as it relates to a recipient of the grant. Except for a second.
Okay.
You can get it done by this time next year.
Yeah, it really should be spring completion, but in the spirit of doing it once, we decided to push it out farther.
And just for the public benefit, this is CDBG funding, this is not TIF funding, so just so we're.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, if there's no other comments or questions from commissioners, we'll open it for public comment. Seeing nothing online or in person, I will invite a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 25-147 as presented.
Second.
A first and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously for 25-147.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now on to, and this is a question, if 148 through 150 are comparable for grouping, because they appear to all be with extensions for the same project.
Yes, they would be
Okay.
right for.
Okay, so we now have, I'll just read the names of the resolutions we're going to be talking about next and then invite a presentation. This is 25-148, which is an approval of an extension for resolution 2245 for construction inspection agreement for Hopewell Phase 1 East. Then we have 149, which is an approval of an extension of resolution an extension of Resolution 25-101 for construction agreement for Hopewell Phase 1 East. And finally, 150, which is an approval of an extension for Resolution 2455 for hardware and camera installation for Hopewell Phase 1 East. It looks like Mr. Ayton will be telling us about these.
Roy Ayton, City Engineering. All three resolutions in this package would be for the Hopewell East project, the construction inspection, and the camera installations that went in around the park area. All three of the resolutions were for agreements that, although the agreements are still active, the resolutions had expired. The expiration dates are at the end of December, I think, for all three of them, December 31st, 2025, and we're asking for extensions of the expiration dates for the resolutions to December 31st, 2026, and all three of these, we are not asking for any changes in the funding levels for the agreements.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from commissioners on these three resolutions? Hearing none, I will open it for public comment on resolutions 148 through 150. Seeing nothing online or in person, I will entertain a motion for these extensions.
Move approval of resolution 25, 148, 149, and 150.
Second.
The first and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously for 148, 149, and 150. Thank you. Okay, new business is concluded. Anything for general discussion? Yes.
So we've deferred two resolutions. Resolution 25-141, I think we've got somewhat of a plan in place whereby staff is going to make a formal presentation and do whatever magic you do, but it will have a lot more information. We deferred 25-136, but I think that there needs to be some discussion about what we're going to do with this 2 weeks besides everybody trying to wrap their head around it. It seems pretty clear that there's some miscommunication or no communication between various parties. I don't know whether we want to host a meeting or what. I'm not suggesting that. I don't know the answer, but I think we ought to walk away with using that time wisely and not just come back in 2 weeks and see what we think.
I agree.
We did request the memo, which of course might just be part of, at least default part of a packet,
Right.
which would make it part of the same time frame. So I'm just interested in that suggestion of what kind of options there might be for perhaps a more informal opportunity to share information, if that's what you're suggesting.
Yeah, exactly. Not
You know, it might even be the memo is available before the rest of the packet is, as a way to kind of have the talking points to talk through it, because I think, again, having a written or printed or visual version of something is helpful for people, in addition to any chance for further discussion, conversation. So I'm seeking proposals from staff of what that might look like. Of course, scheduling it and locating it is the next part of that, but
and trying to get on council. If we were talking about a potential work session or an executive session with like council, I have found it quite difficult to get onto their calendar. So I don't know, I'm happy to try, but we may also want to just send some communications, say one of us is available, not in a quorum, to discuss sort of where we are, answer any questions that are remaining. I don't know, what does legal feel?
Yes, you definitely wouldn't want to do any discussions in a quorum. You could post a work session, and that's based on your schedules, and anybody who wanted to come, you could decide in work sessions. Well, at no time do you have to take public comment, but you could, and you could gain information that way. Again, you could send it to your schedules, and whoever could make it to provide information could make it. Meanwhile, as you say, the memo, if we can try to get that out soon. I know that we work as a team on that thing, so we have the information. It's just a matter of getting it down. So I think we can get that out fairly soon. And if we got that out before a work session, that might give the talking points for a work session. If you don't want to be that formal, then it could be where we get that information, make it available to the public, memo available to the public, and they could contact commissioners on their own as they choose. So you have quite a few options. It just depends on
What's the one that gets the people to the table, or gives everybody the opportunity to come in so we can get some discussion items? The memo's a great idea, some sort of work session or something to try to.
How long would it take you to get a memo together?
Just days. We have the information. We just need to articulate it in one place.
Yeah. So we could.
What about planning on that, on doing exactly that, and then booking a time for a meeting a week out, so we'll have a chance to review the memo and then meet?
Didn't even invite anyone.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good proposal. I don't know in terms of if we can get something on the calendar, because it's obviously like a week from now or approximately.
And we have to consider public notice requirements
Right.
for both council and ourselves if they are included in that.
What's our
Suggesting a work session or something?
I'm suggesting a work session because I feel like that would provide, but again, I don't know the requirements in terms of public notice. If it's a work session, even if it's not a decision making, it's a work session, but if we need to have a quorum in order to call it an RDC work session.
Yes, you need a quorum for the work session. The work session, you cannot take final action in.
Right.
We wouldn't. It's not the purpose.
Right, the purpose
and
is for discussion.
Let me throw out a date.
For council, if they don't, if a quorum does not show up at one time, then they wouldn't need to notice it, but my concern would be if they did. And what you can do is they can notice that they're having one, and if they don't get a quorum, then they don't get a quorum. But you still get a quorum and you can conduct.
Why don't we just set our work session
Yeah.
and
invite?
We'll
then
go
we can
from
make
there.
invitations, and how they've got to manage it is not, we can't manage that.
Right.
So I'm going to just throw out a date
Okay.
to get this moving.
What's our public notice that we have to hit?
This is well,
48 hours.
this is well in front of that.
Okay.
I'm going to throw out a date of Wednesday, December 10th.
At what time?
Late in the day, but I didn't lock that.
What day?
I'll just say 4 o'clock for the sake of discussion. Wednesday, December 10th at 4 o'clock.
I'm already
Let me
booked,
look
but
for a room.
don't plan around me.
Well, but again, trying to at least aim for a quorum. Is like 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock.
Okay. Would 5
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I wasn't locked into
Okay.
the time, so
Okay,
I just.
so
Will
what
we
is?
make sure we
what-
can pay? It looks like the Allison room is available at 5 o'clock on the 10th.
Okay.
Which
So-
one's the Allison room?
It's the one upstairs.
It's the one we always use?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Council chambers is open, but they have a meeting that night at 6:30. So
What's Allison room's for?
Yeah.
you're gonna hold it so
Yeah,
for the
I think that-
public notice?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it gets on the kiosk. And who here can make that date and time?
I'm
All of
good.
you?
How long should we allow?
I'd allow an hour and a
4
half.
hours.
4 hours.
Just wanted to have a little fun with that.
Keep it
You can
this
on the
long, we
council.
get a little slap after.
I would suggest that you put a limit, if there's a large number of people on, how much time to comment, and possibly even what some do is put a limit on the overall time that you'll take comments, so as the meeting doesn't go on and on.
We don't want it 2.5 hour meeting.
And I would suggest always encouraging them if you have something new to say.
Yeah, I envision this work session not as formatted where they can't ask questions and we can't respond. So it's a two-way street, not a one-way street. And so it's hard to put time limits on a two-way discussion.
Christina has blocked the room for 2 hours.
That's
so-
fine. I mean, at some point, we have to just
2 hours
call it a day.
Generously reasonable, so.
Is there any possibility with the memo that we're talking about, for the purpose of a work session, that it could be streamlined into a few slides? I'm just asking, because I'd love to start a work session with everybody, not having to assume that everybody's read the memo, even though we want it to be available. But just again, visuals, kind of gets everybody on the same page. Again, I don't want to pile so much stuff on staff, but I'm still trying to figure out
I
how
don't
to
think
navigate.
that's a hard thing.
Okay, so just, something that would help present the memo in a way that's visual, that's easy to communicate, that everybody who's at the work session can see it, and that becomes the basis for discussion.
Yep.
That would be much appreciated.
It'll be brief, though.
Yeah, brief, the memo's gonna be brief. The memo's like probably 2 pages at most, right? So I'm guessing, but, whatever. So, yeah, but that would be terrific. Thank you very much.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Anything else open for general discussion?
Last question, and it's a Jessica question. I'll just email her.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'll just do it. I'm just curious, the 4-point-some million, did that get sequestered into a different fund from that, or is that just in our 444 account? Not the previous 445.
You're right, that is a Jessica question.
Okay.
I know that there was some moving of that money to make sure that it was in the right spot. I cannot remember where it moved from.
Okay, appreciate that, thank you.
And that money is what, Randy?
For where we sold the property.
Okay.
For
I thought that's what you didn't define
The
it.
trades,
Right.
property sale, just
Gotcha.
allocation where the funds are.
Okay, let us know what you find out.
Jessica, Jessica will let us all know. She's
Yes,
good.
absolutely. Okay, great. Well, if there's no other business general discussion, have a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioners.